number 674. 674.
I didn't do it. I don't know who called him, I didn't do it. For those that are sitting forward, Randy just came in his uniform. Boy, y'all quiet. The Lamb. How much you know about the Lamb? If you had to guess, how many times do you think the Lamb is mentioned in the Bible?
272.
So now.
You're closer than he is. You're way off. In the New King James Version, Lamb is used 97 times. How many times do you think it has to do with worship? Hmm?
67.
Close. What?
You said with worship?
With worship. Has to do with worship. Closer. Y'all sound like the price is right.
72.
72. Now he's really on there, like that person bid $1 more. Actually, I lost count, but about 85 of those times. Now, a lot of other times it's in the same context. And some of those we'll look at and you'll see. And so, before you try to get ahead of me, understand, I actually, other than this first reference, took the ones I have in, okay? We did not do all 97 references. In fact, we didn't do all 85 that have to do with worship or pertain to sins or forgiveness, and I counted that as part of the worship. And took ones that kind of show the point of the Lamb, or more importantly, in this setting here. On John 1:29, it says, the next day John saw Jesus coming toward him and said, behold, the Lamb of God who takes away the sin of the world. Now, he had said that the day before when he saw Jesus. And he talked about the one that he saw being the Son of God, and that it had been told to him, the one that the dove that came and rested upon his shoulder when he was baptized would be the Son of God. And so he spoke about that in that reference. So when we think about it, and the question comes up, the Lamb, we need, and I want you to think about something here. When you think about a lamb, what do you think about? A lamb. I knew somebody was going to say that. Lamb chops.
The Passover.
The Passover. Okay. All right. What do you visualize in your mind when you think about just a lamb? Not to do with religion or anything like that.
Baby sheep.
Huh?
Baby sheep.
Baby sheep. Okay. I want you to hold that thought there. When we, wrong direction. All right. First, we're going to look at it as a sacrifice. When's the first time we see a lamb being offered as a sacrifice in the scriptures? Huh? Abel?
Well,
You don't know
Yeah.
when God killed the clothes out of Eve.
We don't know what God killed clothes out of. And we're not sure about Abel because it said the best of his flock. First fruits of his flock is what it says. So we don't know for sure. But the first time, and she was right, that it's actually called a lamb is when Abraham offers Isaac. And I made a mistake this morning when I said that was in Genesis 25, it's Genesis 22. In verses 6 through 8, it says, So Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering and laid it on Isaac his son, and he took the fire in his hand and a knife, and the two of them went together. But Isaac spoke to Abraham his father and said, My father. And he said, Here I am, my son. Then he said, Look, the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for a burnt offering? What's that tell you about Isaac's age? Old enough to understand. Now, and it's obvious that a lamb had been part of the sacrifice for some time. We just don't know when that started. And it very well could have started with Abel. God just doesn't tell us that. And in verse 8 it says, And Abraham said, My son, God will provide for himself a lamb for a burnt offering. So the two of them went together. Okay? Good. I don't have the rest of it because I want to see who all remembers it. What's the rest of the story?
Abraham was going to kill his son. God said, No, there's
And it proved his faith.
He proved his faith. He had him on the altar. He had him bound. He had the wood set up. He's got the knife in his hand. He's ready to stab him, and God stopped him. In fact, it didn't say God miraculously stopped him. It said that the angel of the Lord spoke to him and stopped him. So, and then Abraham looked and saw something. What did he see?
It says a ram
A ram
caught by his horn.
caught by his horns. Where's that lamb at?
Well, that ram became the lamb.
Okay, let me ask this question. You think it's a contradiction?
It's not a contradiction because Abraham thought he would provide. Well, he was telling his son to prevent his son from knowing God would provide a lamb, as in Abraham's son.
Well, that's a good point.
Lamb was probably a normal, that's why Isaac called for it, but a ram with horns would have been a normal.
Okay.
Sheep, I assume we know about sheep now, not a goat. And it undoubtedly sufficed for what was fixing to take place.
And foreshadowed what would come.
See, one reason I bring this up is what we get into our minds culturally. Now, when I read that, it kind of clicked today. Okay, is a ram still okay when we're looking for a lamb? And Joe, you know, culturally, we think of a lamb being a sheep. Now, the next time we have is the Passover. Now the Lord spoke to Moses, Aaron, in the land of Egypt, saying, This month shall be the beginning of months, it shall be the first month of the year to you. Now this is actually before the actual Passover, but it's instructions concerning the Passover and the keeping it of annually. Speak to all the congregation of Israel, saying, On the 10th day of this month, every man shall take for himself a lamb according to the house of his father, a lamb for a household. And if the household is too small for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next to the house take it according to the number of the persons, according to each man's need. You shall make your count for the lamb. Your lamb shall be without blemish, a male of the first year. You may take it from the sheep or from the goats.
Or from the goats.
See, there's the point. It's not a contradiction. It's actually something the Lord provided. The Lord looked at, in his idea, and probably in their culture, a yearling of a sheep or a goat was considered a lamb. Huh?
Someone had horns.
Some would have had horns.
Ram sounds like more than 1 year.
Huh?
Ram seems older.
Ram seem older, but here, okay, well, let's say a young sheep or goat. Because now here it's clearly spoken as a yearling.
Also says a male.
Also says a male, which that ties in. But, you know, here's the point of it. We get into sometimes these idea of contradictions and we don't take time to look at culture. And the point is that in that culture, they were considered much the same. In fact, if you go back into Abel, it calls them cattle. At first. Now, he says, now you can keep it until the 14th, you shall keep it until the 14th day of the same month, then the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it at twilight. Why is that important? Why is that important to us? Teresa mentioned a word, and we'll get a little further into it. What was that word you mentioned, Teresa?
Passover.
Okay. The next word.
Foreshadow.
Foreshadow.
Oh,
Somebody.
foreshadow.
Foreshadow. A foreshadow is something ahead of time to come. This starts getting important when we start